So we are on our way north from La Paz, and we're stopping out in Loreto. And actually, this is more specifically someplace called Nopoló, I believe is what it is. And it's just south of Loreto, and it's a community here. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at Loreto because that's where we're camping for the night. And we're also going to look here at Nopoló really quick because I've been wanting to see this place for the past couple of years. So far, I'm definitely liking it. It's a very interesting spot. Nopoló is a new urbanist community. So I think it's just about 10 minutes south of Loreto. And it is like a walkable old, whatever that is, 1940s, 1930s style community from the United States, but with a Mexican flair. Little shops and restaurants, very, very walkable, and just a really dense community. And this is something I studied landscape architecture in college, and the designers of this, Dwani, I think were the designers, and they've done some of the best of these types of communities around the world. So I don't have a real estate agent with me today to tell me how much these things cost, but definitely check it out if you're thinking about moving to Loreto. I'll give you some reasons why that might be a good idea or not as good an idea as La Paz. Okay, so I did find here, looks like there's some options, $70,000 for a lot. We've got here close to $400,000 for a property. So about $300 per month homeowner fees. So taxes only $300 per year. Here's one that's $1 million. So there's a number of different options here. And there's also a couple more communities just south of here. Some that look like beach towns, maybe less expensive, and some that look like really expensive communities. So there's a couple other options. So Loreto is about 4 hours north of La Paz by car and about 5 hours north by RV, and so it's a good first day for us. It also puts us in the right interval between towns to be able to spend like about 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day on the road, because there are spots in the Baja Peninsula where there's just nothing. So we like to get onto one side or the other, not stop in the middle, but stop out by the coasts. So there's a couple of new buildings that are a little more dense moving in here. So that's part of the idea here, is to build these little downtowns with the neighborhoods spreading out. And the downtowns will have services, like there's a mini mart, there's a number of restaurants, coffee shops, a spa. So a number of things, just kind of, it's really kind of a magical, almost Disney-like community because it is so lush and so nice. So I really like how so much of this community is accessible off they're streets, but they're just walk streets where you park over on the edges and then you walk into the area, and there's these little courtyards and whatnot. It feels very European, and I think that's part of the idea here. So very cute. I want to explore this so much more, but we're on our way to Loreto, and that's where we're going to stop next. So we just made it to the Romanita RV Park, which is right downtown in the middle of Loreto. So we love this place. It is a little bit confusing the first time you go here. You have to go down a road that says don't go down it, pedestrians only. But sure enough, I think Google tells you to do it, and it is the right thing to do. So before we explored Loreto with you all, I did notice that there was a lot of space available left at Nopoló, or I think they call it Loreto Bay also. And the road is really nice between there and the airport and downtown. The only thing that it just felt a little bit too Disney, like you really wouldn't experience any Mexican neighbors or anything like that, potentially. I mean, it looked like it was all pretty upscale versus an area like La Paz, which is pretty mixed. So depending on what you're looking for, that might be the right place for you. It felt a little bit too Cabo for me, but I am going to check it out. I do have a friend who lives there, so I'm going to try to coordinate with her and go in and really make another video that's a little more in depth. So I'm now in the town square of Loreto, and it's a great little place here, really nice, family oriented, and there's a number of restaurants and a coffee shop along the outside of the square. So unfortunately, Bandit, our foster dog, is not very well trained to walk on a leash or be nice to other dogs when he's walking. So we are actually going to do some takeout from a restaurant here and take it back to the RV park. So this is the last thing I ever want to see. No! So last time we came through Loreto, the street behind me was all under construction and you just couldn't get through. And I'm now realizing there's so much more to Loreto than I expected or than I knew from last time. So there's the downtown core area, the historic area, is probably twice as large as I was able to experience last time. Of course, a lot of the places, like the ice cream store, are closed on Sunday nights, but I'm expecting there to be a lot of folks walking around because that's what folks do on Sunday nights. So now I'm questioning my decision to pick up a pizza at the brew pub because there are so many more restaurants here and it looks so nice. But there are a lot of gringos here and a lot of them have dogs, which is not so compatible with our puppy right now. This is a great town. I want to explore this more. Sadly, we're only here for the night. So hopefully this is just a quick taste of Loreto that helps you to decide whether or not this should be on your list of places to explore. So in the town of Loreto, there are a lot of gringos here. So there's definitely a lot of businesses that cater a lot of people speaking English, but it still is a Mexican town. So it is not overwhelmingly, it's not like Cabo, but it's also not quite like La Paz, where in La Paz, the gringos just make up a small percentage of the population. This feels a little bit more touristy, a little bit more set up for Americans and Canadians. So if you don't speak Spanish, if you're a little bit less comfortable in other countries, this might be a good option. Of course, the place that we looked at earlier would be a really great option if you were wanting to get the weather and less expensiveness of Mexico without experiencing a huge amount of the culture. So Loreto does have a Malecón. It's not as exciting as the Malecón in La Paz. And I asked our host at our campsite about, what's to do in town. And I asked about the Malecón if people were out and about. And he said, yeah, lots of people, lots of the locals out and about and they're out drinking. And I'm like, oh, are there bars and restaurants or to go to? He's like, no, they just drink in their cars. We're a small town, so there are no rules. And here is something I saw along the water. Looks like liveinloreto.com possibly. And you could find a place to live here. So there's definitely a lot of live music in this town. I counted a couple of bands and there's one guy playing at the restaurant behind me. And I've talked to a number of gringos here and all of them seem to be just passing through or just kind of coming down from California. There's an airport here that you can get a flight into Loreto. There's a small hospital that we saw on the way in, but I know like for more serious things, people have to head down to La Paz. And because it is on the water, there are things like whale watching and snorkeling, diving, sport fishing. So a lot of things to do here in the water if that's your thing. So compared to some of the other places here in Baja California Sur, La Paz is still my favorite because it is so much bigger and so much more Mexican. This is nice. Todos Santos is a little bit over Americanized, and same thing with the Cabos. But Loreto seems to be kind of a good mix for a number of people who would really like Loreto as their Mexican home. I could definitely see why someone would want to live here.